My husband's best friend claimed I wasn't good enough for him and tried to sabotage our marriage. Laughing, he told me, he'll always choose me over you. My husband walked in at that exact moment and said, "Want to bet?" My name is Sarah and I've been married to James for 5 years. Our relationship has always been built on trust, mutual respect, and a deep bond that I believed was unbreakable. James has a best friend, Mark, whom he's known since college. Their friendship has always been close, and I respected that. I considered Mark a friend as well, and we often spent time together as a group. However, over the past few months, I've noticed subtle changes in Mark's behavior towards me. It started with offhand comments that seemed harmless at first. He would joke about how James was whipped or how marriage changes a man. I brushed these remarks aside, thinking they were just typical banter between close friends. But then, the comments became more pointed. Mark would suggest that James and I were spending too much time together, implying that I was monopolizing his time. He'd say things like, "Remember when we used to have guys' nights every week? Those were the days." Again, I tried to ignore it, not wanting to cause any tension. The situation escalated during a weekend getaway that James and I had planned. We were looking forward to some quality time together, just the two of us. Mark found out about our plans and invited himself along. I was taken aback but didn't want to create a scene, so I reluctantly agreed. Throughout the trip, Mark's behavior was increasingly intrusive. He would constantly interrupt our conversations, make sarcastic remarks about our relationship, and even tried to convince James to ditch me for a night out. I felt disrespected and hurt, but didn't know how to address it without causing a rift between James and Mark. The breaking point came during a dinner at a local restaurant. James had stepped away to take a call, leaving Mark and me alone at the table. Mark leaned in and said, "You know, Sarah, I don't think you're the right person for James. He used to be so much more fun before you came along. He'll always choose me over you." I was stunned. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Before I could respond, James returned to the table and sensed the tension. He asked what was going on, and Mark, with a smug look, said, "Just having a friendly chat with Sarah." I decided it was time to speak up. I told James about Mark's comments and how his behavior had been making me feel. James was visibly upset and confronted Mark right then and there. Mark tried to play it off as a joke, but James wasn't having it. He told Mark that his behavior was unacceptable and that he needed to respect our marriage. Mark stormed out of the restaurant, and we haven't heard from him since. James apologized for not noticing earlier and assured me that our relationship comes first. This experience has been eye-opening and has taught me the importance of setting boundaries and addressing issues head-on. I wanted to share my story here to see if anyone else has experienced something similar. How did you handle it? Any advice on navigating friendships that interfere with a marriage would be greatly appreciated. After Mark stormed out of the restaurant, things went quiet for a few days. James and I thought maybe it was over. Maybe Mark would realize he crossed a line and back off. We were wrong. The first sign something wasn't right came the following week. James started getting weird texts from an unknown number. Stuff like, "Ever wonder what Sarah does when you're not home? Thought you should know she's not who she pretends to be. Check your email. She's not loyal." It was childish at first. Just messages. But it messed with James's head. I could see it in the way he looked at me, confused, cautious. He didn't say anything, not right away, but I knew something was off. Then came the email. It hit both our inboxes at the same time. There were photos. Grainy ones. Me, from behind, at a coffee shop, talking to a man I didn't recognize. A timestamp from a Tuesday when James was out of town. The subject line read, "Ask her who he is." I looked at the pictures, then at James. He looked pale. I laughed, not because it was funny, but because it was so absurd. "That's not even me," I said, zooming in on the picture. "Same coat, maybe, but look at the hair. That's not my purse either." James stared at it. "I don't know, Sarah. It looks like you." That cut deep. I felt this twist in my stomach. I knew this wasn't just about Mark's jealousy anymore. He was trying to split us up. And now he was planting fake evidence. I told James to look at the metadata. The timestamp was altered. The location tag was from Oakland. I hadn't even been in Oakland in months. Eventually, James calmed down. He believed me. But I could see it planted something small and ugly in his mind. Doubt. That's all it takes sometimes. That same week, James got called into HR at work. Someone sent an anonymous tip claiming he was under investigation for harassment. It wasn't true. Nothing came of it, but the accusation alone was enough to embarrass him in front of his team. When he came home that day, he looked broken. "He's trying to ruin me," James said. "He's really trying." We knew it was Mark. Everything pointed to him. The timing, the language in the messages, the petty obsession. But we had no proof. So we waited. I started collecting everything. Screenshots, messages, call logs, even security camera footage from our building. I didn't tell James everything I was doing. I needed him focused on his work and our marriage. But I was done being passive. If Mark wanted a war, he was going to get one. But I'd do it smart. Quiet. Patient. One night, James came home late from work, and he looked defeated. I had dinner ready, but he didn't even touch it. "I saw Mark today," he said, eyes heavy. He showed up outside my office. My heart stopped. What did he want? He said he wanted to talk. Said he felt bad about how things went. Then, right when I thought he was being sincere, he laughed. Like, really laughed. Said, "You'll come around, man. She's just a phase." I was speechless. Mark wasn't just trying to sabotage me anymore. He was toying with James, trying to wear him down, break his trust. But here's where things get twisted. A week later, James's mom called. She'd gotten a message too. An anonymous email claiming I was keeping James from his family and controlling him. She forwarded it to James. Same style, same tone. But this time, it got to his mom. She asked him if we were okay, if I was treating him right. James lost it. Not on me, on Mark. He called him, furious, and demanded he stop. That's when Mark said something that sent chills down both our spines. "You think you know her? I've known you longer. She's just a distraction. You'll thank me later." Then he hung up. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking, what's next? What's his endgame? He wasn't just trying to end our marriage anymore. He was trying to rewrite our story. And then, something happened that changed everything. James got a call from his old college friend, Derek. Someone they hadn't talked to in years. Derek said Mark had been talking about James behind his back, telling mutual friends that James was miserable, that I was manipulative, that we were on the verge of divorce. Derek didn't believe it. That's why he called, to check on James directly. That's when James saw it. Mark wasn't just targeting me. He was burning down every bridge James had, isolating him, making himself the only person left in his corner. "I think he wants me to need him," James said one night, eyes hollow. "Like, if he makes my life fall apart, I'll come crawling back." I didn't say anything. I just held his hand. But I had a plan now. I wasn't going to confront Mark. I wasn't going to send him messages or threaten him. That's what he wanted. Drama. Emotion. Chaos. He fed on it. No. I was going to do something else. I was going to make sure Mark revealed himself on his own. And it was going to start with a very specific lie I'd plant. Just one. Nothing dramatic. Something small. Something that would pull Mark out of hiding. But more on that later. The first part of my plan was simple. I told one person something that only Mark would be tempted to use. I had lunch with Chloe, a mutual acquaintance of ours, someone who wasn't super close to either of us, but still kept in touch. Over coffee, I casually said James had received a job offer from a company in Seattle, and we were thinking of moving. Totally made up. 2 days later, James got a call from a recruiter at his actual workplace asking if he was planning to leave. When James asked where they heard that, the recruiter said it came up in a chat with a former classmate. "Mark, I think." Bingo. Now we knew. Mark couldn't help himself. He still had people watching, listening. And he was still trying to twist everything. This gave us exactly what we needed, proof he was spreading rumors with the intent to mess with James's career. But it got worse. That same week, I noticed something odd with our internet. Our smart devices were glitching. James's email was logged out. My cloud storage was acting strange. I ran a quick check and found an unknown device had been connected to our Wi-Fi. I didn't tell James right away. I wanted to be sure. I changed all our passwords, locked down everything, and set up a tracker. Within hours, the device reconnected. And I traced the IP. It was Mark's address. He had been snooping on us, maybe for weeks. Maybe longer. At this point, it wasn't about jealousy anymore. It was about control. He wasn't just trying to ruin our relationship. He was trying to own it. Like he believed James belonged to him, and I was just a wall he had to break through. I started documenting everything. I didn't just take screenshots. I printed them, time-stamped them, saved backups in different places. I made a timeline, cross-referencing every message, every anonymous tip, every shady interaction. And then something happened that made my heart drop. One night, around 11:30 p.m., someone tried to get into our apartment. They didn't knock. They didn't ring the bell. The security camera showed someone standing at the door, jiggling the handle slowly, carefully. He wore a hoodie and kept his head down. But the height, the build, the shoes, James recognized them immediately. It was Mark. The next morning, James filed a police report. We didn't have enough to press charges, but the officer made it clear, this isn't a coincidence. Keep your doors locked. Keep your cameras running. And document everything. James was shaken. I could tell. But he still didn't want to believe it had gone this far. He wanted to think maybe Mark was just in a bad place, maybe he was acting out of pain or loneliness. That's when I showed him the full timeline. The calls, the texts, the fake email, the recruiter, the fake cheating photo, the internet breach, the Seattle rumor, and now him showing up at our door. James didn't say a word for a long time. Finally, he said, "We're going to end this. But not with revenge. Not with a dramatic confrontation. We were going to do it smart." We decided to let Mark hang himself with his own words, in his own voice. We bought a new phone. James texted Mark from that number, pretending to be someone else. He said, "Heard Sarah might be cheating. Got proof." And then waited. Mark replied within the hour. Not just with yes, but with files. Screenshots. All fake. The same ones he had sent anonymously. Same captions. Same lies. He didn't realize he was handing us everything. And then, Mark made a mistake. He wrote, "This will make James leave her. He just needs a push. I've almost got him." That was it. That one message turned everything from suspicion into evidence. James took it to his lawyer, his company's HR, and yes, the police. I wish I could say Mark went away quietly. But no, there's more. He tried to deny it all. Said someone must have hacked his account. Claimed the screenshots were old, taken out of context. But it didn't work. Not this time. But just when we thought the worst was over, a letter arrived at our doorstep. No return address. Inside was a handwritten note. "You think you've won. But you never understood what this was really about." That's where we're at now. Still no full closure. No final chapter yet. But we're getting closer. Because now, Mark is unraveling. His connections are disappearing. His stories are catching up to him. And James? He's not the same man he was 6 months ago. Neither am I. But what Mark still doesn't know is that we're about to pull the last thread. We didn't respond to the letter. It was clearly Mark's handwriting. No mistaking it. And, even though it shook us, we stayed quiet. We didn't want to give him the satisfaction. But behind the silence, we were planning one final move. James was scheduled to attend a reunion, a small gathering of old college friends. Mark was invited too. It was being hosted by Derek, the same friend who had tipped James off earlier. We decided we'd both go, but we didn't tell anyone what was coming. James and I had been quiet for weeks. No updates. No responses. We didn't talk to Mark. We wanted him to think maybe we were finally distancing ourselves from each other, like he wanted. The night of the reunion, we arrived late. The place was a rooftop bar in downtown San Francisco, relaxed but crowded enough to draw attention when needed. People hugged, laughed, reminisced. It was loud, casual, safe. But we knew it wouldn't stay that way for long. Mark was there. He saw us walk in, and his eyes immediately scanned James's face. He smiled, confident, smug, like he had already won. That's when James nodded to Derek. Derek cleared his throat and tapped his glass. "Hey everyone," he said. "Before we get too drunk, I wanted to say something. It's been years, and I think it's time we clear the air." The room quieted. Some people chuckled, others looked confused. Mark froze. James stepped up next to Derek and pulled out his phone. "Some of you know there's been some tension lately. Rumors. Lies. Attacks. It's gotten ugly. And I didn't want to believe who it was coming from. But now, I don't have a choice." He tapped the screen and read the text aloud, the message Mark had sent under the fake pretense. Word for word. The line that gave everything away. "This will make James leave her. He just needs a push. I've almost got him." The room fell dead silent. Then James said, that message was sent from Mark's number. The fake emails, the cheating photos, the anonymous tips. He did all of it. He tried to ruin my marriage. He tried to ruin my career. And when that didn't work, he started showing up at our home. Mark's face turned pale. "That's not true," he said quickly, looking around. "I don't even. Why would I?" I stepped forward then. "We traced your IP address, Mark. We caught you logging into our network. You tried to access our emails. You left a letter at our door." Mark's voice rose. "You're twisting everything. James, you know me. We've been through everything together. You're seriously going to believe her over me?" That's when James lost it. "No, Mark. I'm going to believe the evidence. I wanted to believe you were still my friend. But you lied. You tried to make me hate the woman I love. You tried to manipulate me. You almost did." People were whispering. One of the girls sitting nearby, Sophie, spoke up. "I remember you telling me Sarah was unstable. That she was ruining James's life." Mark turned on her. "I never said that." "You did," she said firmly. "Last month. You said they were probably splitting up soon." More voices joined in. Others who'd heard things. Things Mark had been planting for months. The room turned slowly like a wave until Mark stood alone, cornered. Then he snapped. "You all don't get it," he shouted. "I was just trying to help." James was losing himself. He wasn't the same. She changed him. I had to do something. And in that moment, everyone saw it. The obsession. The twisted loyalty. The delusion. James stared at him. "I changed because I grew up. Because I wanted a life. A real one. With her. You couldn't accept that, so you tried to tear it down." There were no more words left to say. Mark stormed out of the bar. Pushed past people. Didn't look back. The aftermath was quiet and heavy. Some people tried to lighten the mood, but the air had shifted. Derek walked over, placed a hand on James's shoulder, and said, "I'm sorry, man. None of us saw it. We should have noticed." "It's not your fault," James said quietly. We didn't stay long after that. Back home, everything felt surreal. James poured himself a drink. I sat on the couch, shoes still on. We didn't speak for a long time. Finally, I said, "You okay?" "I don't know," he admitted. "Part of me feels like I lost a brother. And part of me feels relieved." I nodded. "Me too." Over the next few weeks, we slowly returned to normal life. The messages stopped. The rumors died. And Mark? We heard he moved away. No goodbyes, no closure. James and I didn't magically become stronger overnight. We had to rebuild trust, not with each other, but with ourselves. We'd both been tested in ways we never expected. There were hard nights. Quiet dinners. Long walks. Tears. But there was something else too. A quiet understanding that we had made it through the storm. Together. I still think about Mark sometimes. Not with anger anymore. Just a strange kind of sadness. He couldn't let go of the past, so he tried to destroy our future. And I wonder what would have happened if we hadn't fought for each other. But we did. And that's what matters. Am I hopeful? Yes. Not because everything is perfect, but because we faced the worst and chose to stay. Because love, the real kind, doesn't run when things get dark. It holds on. Even when it hurts. Especially when it hurts.